What's up, everybody? I'm your girl, Nicole Simpson, and you're on board the Power of Gospel. It's a time of inspiration and expectation. It's a chance for us to recognize that we are blessed to be a blessing to others. So on this week's show, we have none other than Mrs. Martha Menenzi. We talked about family. We talked about the ministry. But before that, I had a chance to stop by Rahway, New Jersey to meet up with none other than Pastor Lawrence Powell, a radical ministry definitely on the rise. Usually when I tell my pastor that I'm interviewing someone, he goes, okay, have a good interview. But this time, I told him I was interviewing none other than Pastor Lawrence Powell, and I had very explicit instructions to take very good care of his friend. So here we have on the Power of Gospel today, none other than Pastor Lawrence Powell. It is a pleasure to be able to sit down with you. How are you?
I'm doing good, Nicole. It's my pleasure to sit with you.
God has been blessing you.
Hey, Pastor Blacknall is a great friend. Give him my regards.
I definitely will.
So you better take care of me now, because I got his direct line.
I understand that, and so I'm going to be on my P's and Q's and try not to be nervous or anything like that, so the pastor will be proud. I got you, Pastor Blacknall. I got you.
We got you, sir. We got you.
But God has blessed you, and one of the things that he always talks about it and that we've been able to see the manifestation of is your radical ministry right here in Rahway, New Jersey. Talk about where God has brought you from to where you believe God is taking you in the future.
Well, I say this with all humility. The Lord has brought me from a long way. I don't feel like I've arrived by any means. I feel it's a journey in progress. But I look back at our beginnings, not far from this site, with the church. That is, of course, my walk with the Lord began, way before the church was established, but just even in these last few years since we started down the street at my parents' home in a garage, I've watched the Lord just manifest his power and glory unlike anything that I've seen in my life prior to that point. I'm just so grateful to be a part of it. He has taken me from a little kid growing up in the church and matured me to this man of God and this pastor that I am today, and that always challenges me. Just because I think sometimes we're a little down on ourselves, and it's like, wow, is he really using me? I'm awed by God's power and presence in my life.
Well, surely he has been blessing you, and you did indicate that you started off in your father's garage, and the ministry has just grown in leaps and bounds. How do you know that you've actually been called to pastor? Because clearly you have been called, and the evidence is in the fruits of your labor. But how does one know that they've been called to pastor and can just move forward without hesitation in doing what God has purposed for them to do?
That's a great question, Nicole. And that was, I guess, one of the initial challenges for me personally. I guess when I looked at pastors, what I knew, of men and women of God who operated in that office, they were generally older people. Right. And when it came to my heart and mind that this is what God was calling me to do, I did not have, I guess, a perspective that would suggest that I was really hearing from him, because I just felt, first of all, I was just too young, and I just I couldn't flow.
Wow.
There, and I had to pray, and I kept hearing it again and again. I guess as it would be with anything, you got to come to a place where you know that you know that you know. And I was simply saying yes to the Lord. I wasn't trying to be a pastor because I didn't want to be submitted to anybody else, or I wanted to be the head honcho or in charge. That's just wasn't it. I would have been fine serving under another pastor, helping him fulfill his vision. But clearly, in my saying yes to the Lord, in my praying to the Lord, it became evident that this is what God was doing. He was calling me to. I could not escape it. Between what he was saying to me personally, privately, perhaps maybe is a better way of saying that, and then what he would say to me through other voices. Amen. And dream, vision. I was just getting confirmation after confirmation that this is the direction he was leading my life in.
That's very interesting. One thing that you touched on is the willingness to submit under leadership, and that's extremely important. But even as a pastor, you still find yourself submitting unto additional leadership. Who are some of the mentors in your life, some of the people that help guide you, because we need somebody to talk to. It's beautiful to have a relationship with God, but sometimes I need a person one-on-one to talk to. Who is that in your life?
Well, my pastor growing up, he's gone on to be with the Lord. His name was Elder Robert Bragg, Pastor Robert L. Bragg. She said as such, and he was a man that was a man of great character, and he is the one, along with his wife, who's still living. They're the one who pointed me to the Lord, and I am forever grateful for that. In addition to their influence, of course, there's my mom, who's always been a godly woman, a praying woman. I have numerous other persons, Shirley Graham, Evangelist Shirley Graham, who in this area we affectionately call Mom Graham.
Mom Graham.
Quite a few of us young pastors. Notice I say young pastors. We call her Mom Graham. She and her husband have precious in our lives. There's a pastor friend and a father figure in California, Pastor Donald Gridiron, who has been such a blessing, he and his wife, to Vanessa and I. Bishop Charles Blake is a mentor of mine. I've just loved him and followed his ministry and his example in many ways, and tried to model a lot of things that he's done there with West Angeles here in Rahway. And then Bishop Eddie Long,
Amen.
who is my own spiritual father. I just appreciate the connection and fellowship that I have and the covenant that I enjoy with him now. And the Lord is doing some tremendous things in my life because of his impact and his influence as well.